Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to CGTN's special live streaming program, The Hype, where minds collide and ideas amplify. I'm your host, Zhang Zhenyi, coming to you live from Beijing. Well, that short film was definitely a vibrant way to welcome the season as Chinese New Year just around the corner. It's a magical time where you get to enjoy endless meals, reconnect with your relatives, and maybe find yourself answering some tough life questions. Today, we're going to keep things relaxed as we talk about our own Chinese New Year experiences. And I'm joined by special guests for this conversation. So why don't we introduce yourself?
Ladies first.
Should I go first? Hi, everyone. This is Myrna, your old friend from The Hype. I'm so glad to be here right now. This is actually my first time having a live stream with Jenny. We're old friends with Nadim, and it's very exciting to be back with The Hype and looking forward to sharing more about Chinese New Year this year.
Finally, Myrna.
Well, I mean, we've done before live streams together, and we've done as well so many. My name is Nadim. I'm from Lebanon, and I've been in China since 2012, so I've been here for a while.
Wow.
I've experienced the Chinese New Year authentically here in Beijing, and I'm excited to share more about my experiences with you.
I can't wait to hear more. And we have Jack coming with us from Zoom.
Hello, yeah. My name's Jack. I'm from the UK. I first came to China in 2018 to study as an international student. And then after I graduated, I came back to China and been working here since since 2021 about, yeah. So I worked in the games industry between 2021 and 2024 and then left my job, and I'm now enjoying life in Harbin.
Wow, I really like your sweater with a horse on it.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Thank you.
Matching
Yeah.
the thing. You know, when I look at us sitting here talking about Chinese New Year, it just made me realize that for each of us, the Chinese New Year do not really start at the same way. Like for some of us, we get along with it, we're born with it, but some of us discovered it later.
Yes.
So for you guys, do you guys still remember when was the first time you experienced your very Chinese New Year, and what was the experience?
Do you want to start?
Should I start?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, as lots of our friends probably know, I'm half Chinese, but my first ever Spring Festival was actually spent outside of China because I used to live in the US and in Jordan. So I feel like celebrating Chinese New Year in different countries is an experience, and then coming back and celebrating it in China is very different as well. I'll just start with, let's say, in Jordan. I want to give a big shout out to the language institutions in Jordan. When you are learning Chinese in an institution, the teachers, the entire place, the students really make a big deal out of Chinese New Year. So I think when you're celebrating, I think it's even right now in 2026, we see videos online everywhere like how people are celebrating New Year in different countries. So for me, for example, I feel like our Arab friends love food, love hospitality, which is something so similar to Chinese culture. So I think every year during Chinese New Year, whenever a Chinese institute would do an event, there would be baojiaozi together making dumplings. There would be people writing on couplets.
Oh, sweet.
And I feel like people who are learning Chinese from Jordan is increasing a lot. So whenever they go to these events, you have no idea how excited everyone is. I remember so many years ago when I used to go there, it'd be so fun to just like share your culture with people from around the world. But seeing Jordanians fall in love with the country, fall in love with making dumplings, fall in love with making, writing the couplets, writing the words, it's something very magical and it feels very close to home. Now, coming back to China now, experiencing it, I must say, I think the experience of Chinese festival is very exciting before Chinese New Year.
In the lead up to it.
In the lead up to
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I got
yeah.
in China, like, let's say 2 weeks before it, everyone's talking about, like, oh, I'm so excited and stuff like that. But when it actually does happen, for example, me in Beijing, I think it's quite quiet. So I feel like for me, the most festive Chinese New Year sometimes was experienced outside of China, but it's equally exciting here, but just in another way. Was it similar in Lebanon?
Well, I mean, I've never experienced the Chinese New Year in Lebanon. I only experienced it after I came to China as a student. So I was in university, and exactly what you described as, it being quiet, because I used to live on campus. And obviously, during the Chinese New Year, it's a holiday.
Yeah.
There's no classes. So all of my Chinese classmates, friends on campus would leave. And so the campus would be so very quiet, which is the same word that you used. And I would feel, honestly speaking, very lonely, which is, the opposite of what you should feel during the Chinese New Year, because it's a time for a reunion with,
yeah.
And so on campus, literally, it's just us, the foreigners, And we would spend time together. Obviously, we would spend it not in the most authentic Chinese way, but yeah, my first experience with the Chinese New Year for the first couple of years were just empty campuses, cafeteria, empty cafeterias, and just spending more time with my foreign friends until my Chinese friends would come back from home with a lot of gifts and
Yeah,
food.
oh my God.
But yeah, so that's it. So every single year when it happens, I still have that little trauma from my first few years. Luckily, I was able to move past it and really enjoy it and see it for what it is, especially during work, because we cover at CGTN the Chinese New Year, and I've had the chance of being part of many live streams and videos related to the Chinese New Year, and that really brought me closer to the meaning of this festival, past just being lonely in my room on campus. So yeah.
Oh, that's like
You're not lonely this year.
No.
We're celebrating together.
No,
this
we're
year.
yeah.
No one is lonely this year.
And what about you, Jack? Does your experience similar to what Nadim has?
I think my Chinese New Year has almost gone through phases. So I think at first I would probably say it was quite similar to Myrna's. Obviously, I was someone learning Chinese outside of China. So I studied Chinese at university in the UK. And it was the same as we've already mentioned. I think the Confucius Institutes and any of the institutes in my Chinese school as well in Manchester, they put a lot of effort into making sure that students who were interested had a chance to really get to know what was behind Chinese New Year, some of the traditions behind it. So similar things like, we would always wrap dumplings together, and we would talk a little bit about red envelopes and the culture behind that, and maybe play some games related to that. So I think, first of all, it started in Manchester. Manchester also has a really thriving Chinatown. So there's been a big Chinese community there for many generations.
I think there's probably some technical issues, but we will really get back to Jack pretty soon because I know Jack has so much to share with us. So for me, I think...
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because, all of us, Jack, halfway through, we're explaining our situation. What about you? How is it different? Can I ask? How is it different spending the Chinese New Year as a child versus as now a working adult?
Well, I would say my memories of having Chinese New Year as a child is like my family tends to celebrate it in my mom's hometown, which is in Baoshan City in Yunnan province. That's in like a southwestern part of China. So there are some unique traditions, I would say. For example, on the afternoon of the New Year's Eve, we will set off firecrackers in front of the gate, and we call it sealing the door.
Nice.
Basically, it's like we say goodbye to the past year and we keep the new luck in, and nobody gets out or comes in after we seal the doors.
Oh, really?
Until the next day. So you make sure you get everything you need before we seal the doors. And then we will go all wash up our feet. And some people will even just wash up the whole body, meaning that we want to embrace the new year with like a very fresh and clean body and fresh altitude and something like that. And then all the rest will be similar, like we put up spring couplets and we have grand reunion dinners and we stay up late for the gala, something like that. But the very first meal on the first year will always be tangyuan, which is so different from.
So this
like the
is not
northern
Chuxi, right?
No, now I'm talking about the first day of the new year.
Okay.
It's always, the first meal is always about tangyuan.
Tangyuan.
It's so different than like dumplings
Yeah.
in the northern regions.
Yeah, northern people always eat dumplings, but for us, it's like tangyuan, which is like glutinous rice ball. And we also, but something similar is that we also put a clean coin inside of it.
Speaking of the coin, have you ever experienced like putting a coin inside the dumpling? It's a tradition.
No, I've once put the coin in.
Teeth, let us see.
No, I didn't get it. So that luck wasn't mine that year. So
Basically, I don't know if any of our friends know, lots of I think it's a traditional thing where you put a coin inside the dumpling.
Yes.
To like whoever eats it gets a good luck. But I feel
Extra
like
dose
I've
of luck.
actually never put a coin. We put peanuts back in the day. Back in
okay,
like
that's-
my home. Just to keep it safer.
Yeah,
Like,
which
whoever
is good
eats the
for your
peanuts-
teeth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's friendly.
Smiling for good teeth. I think we got Jack back, don't we? Oh.
no, but I can
I do
translate what
see-
he's saying.
You can hear what he's saying.
But I do feel like another thing about Yunnan
Yeah.
is like Yunnan is one of the province that has so much ethnic groups there. It's like one of the province that has ethnically diverse in China. food, everything is so different. So I would say having celebrations there is quite layered and colorful, and also unlike the north, the temperature there is super mild. It's perfect for human bodies.
What are you talking about? The last couple of days in Beijing, it was really nice.
Very sunny today.
Yeah.
I feel like 14
Wait till
Celsius.
you visit Yunnan, then you will put that
But
back.
Yunnan is known for like beautiful weather.
No, I mean, I love
and
Yunnan.
diverse cuisine,
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
know,
I mean,
yeah.
we've heard even Yunnan food become viral the past like month.
I mean, keep that in mind that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer visits China, and the first meal he had was Yunnan cuisine.
food.
That tells everything.
It's very diverse.
And yeah, so, and also because the temperature, so there are a lot of flowers blooming around. So right now for us, it's always important to purchase a lot of flowers. I mean, a lot to decorate your home.
Oh, that's
Oh,
sweet.
that's
Yeah, that's
nice.
nice.
That's like Yunnan
It's-
style.
It's different than in
the north-
Beijing,
in the
I would
north.
say.
I
Yeah.
In the northern region, right upon do you know Laba
Laba,
Festival?
yeah.
There's a whole
Couple of
song
weeks
when
ago.
you were,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. It's a whole like routine on what leads up to Chinese New Year. So cleaning your home, buying tofu, buying candy. And if I forgot how the song goes, but there's definitely a song that they teach children for Laba Jie.
I think there's like a sequence of traditions and
sequence
of
rituals
events.
that you have to do according to different days. There's
Yeah.
the day of Laba festival. You have to eat that Laba
And then leading up
porridge.
to
Yeah,
it,
the
yeah.
Yeah, and just a few days ago, that was like a small year. For and you know, in the south and in the north, the date of small year is different. So
Oh, that's new.
Do you know when is the small year for?
I think there was the 23rd of the last lunar month was the small year in the north, and the 24th or 28th was the. I think it's a different date in the south.
Okay.
I think that was go back to the very ancient time because in the north people tend to follow the royal way, and royal people do that, celebrated that
Okay.
in that day, so they can save the cost of like because that would be also the day they memorizing their ancestors. But in the south, people tend to do this in an old-fashioned way, which was a couple days later. And in these small year, people will there's a very interesting ritual. It's called sending of the god of kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah, 送灶神. So basically, in a lot of Chinese families, there is a god of kitchen
Okay.
watching over your family to observe how you behave, how your family behaved this whole year. And on small year that day, the god will went back to the heaven to report all your behaviors
Okay.
to the Jade Emperor, I think.
Annual assessment, sort of.
Of course.
Yeah.
So people are watching you.
There's also a god of money, isn't there?
Yeah.
God of
so,
wealth.
On the small year, we will give them some candies, so that they can say something sweet about
Oh,
you.
sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love this symbolism. For people who don't know much about the Chinese culture, symbolism is very important. And, you know, even when you're speaking about eating the tangyuan because it's round, it symbolizes reunion or the moon, or, you know, having the type of different foods that you have on Chuxi, for example, the fish or the niangao, each one of them has a different symbol. And I think it's just so fascinating how much meanings go into these different customs to celebrate the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, even look at this fu, because in Chinese it means fortune, good wish. And in some Chinese families, they will put this upside down.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, why is it not upside down?
Well, it varies according to where you are, because in
Okay.
some northern families they put it this way, but in some southern families they put it upside down because you know
Wow.
in Chinese
feels like
upside down
arrived.
sounds like arrived.
But
So
apparently not everyone does that, which I think is interesting in China. I've asked
Yeah.
multiple people, I was like, do you do that? They're like, no, but others are like, yes.
I do that.
You do that?
I do
you want
that.
prosperity to come to you.
Every day.
You're like,
wow, every day.
Every day of the year. So one of the things I
he wants prosperity. He doesn't put it every day of the year.
I
You
keep
do,
it.
yeah.
But that's
I think I
what
still have it on my door.
that's one of the things that I wanted to ask. Is it just me, or when you put the couplets, which are basically like these two vertical ones and then the horizontal one that you put on top of the door with auspicious words, do you guys keep it the entire year? Because I do.
I've kept mine for like 5 years, I
I
think.
mean, I'm lazy, so
I don't change it, but should we change it? Or I mean, do people change it because?
I think it still varies.
Okay.
But for my family, we tend to keep it till the next year. Till like, for example, now is the time when you
change.
You change it. Or
I don't even bother to change
I
it.
think that's a good
I've-
question for the audience if you drop it.
Well, there we go.
Drop it
Please,
for the audience, let us know.
especially those from China or
Do you change
know,
your couplets?
Chinese communities outside. Please let us know. Do you change your couplets? Because it seems like 3 out of 3 here don't change it.
don't.
I don't know about you, Jack.
all right. We think we probably, Jack will, yeah, Jack has a lot to share with us, but maybe later. He wants to leave the room for us for now because we're so talkative.
Never put three hosts together.
The excitement of Chinese New Year.
Like we're competing each other about putting out words out. And so Myrna, do you still remember, like compared to the very first Chinese year you had to the latest one, is there any differences?
To the latest one, I'll be more honest. I think when we were younger, just as Nadim said, if you're celebrating in China, we can suddenly feel like Beijing is much more empty. But I think the meaning behind it is that it is the one time in China everyone needs to go home. Everyone needs to go home. And I think that is the number one meaning of Spring Festival. You need to go home no matter how busy you are, no matter what do you have that day. The most important thing during this time is to go home. And I think going home, we're always talking about like what is the most special thing about Chinese New Year. I think the fact that something that can resonate with the whole world is everyone wants to go home. Everyone wants to see their family. So I feel like if there is one time of the year that everyone's excited about is Chinese New Year. And I love that what's different in China is that we anticipate Chinese New Year in a way to make plans for the rest of the year more than we make plans for like January 1st. So I feel like lots of the say when we say like, oh, next year, does my next year begin from 2026, January 1st, or does it begin with the Chinese New Year day? And I feel like living in China, you begin to calculate your year, the later one.
Yeah.
And what I think is really funny is that before, when I was younger, you know, celebrating outside, you're trying to be part of, you know, Spring Festival, you're trying to draw on couplets and stuff like that. Right now, as an adult in China, you want to share the more in-depth meaning of it. So you actually make time to message your friends. You make time to make sure everyone in your neighborhood or your community is actually going home. You're gonna wish them like 过年好, Happy New Year. So I think as you grow older, you don't care that much about the physical stuff. Like, will I make dumplings? Will I write a couplet? No, I care
Will
more.
I get a hongbao?
Will I get a hongbao?
I better get a hongbao.
Maybe I'd give a hongbao.
Yeah.
I'd rather like make sure everyone, like let's say in my neighborhood where there is the, what do you call the security at the door, I would love to not see him on Chinese New Year because I want to make sure he actually went home.
Are you guys going home this?
No.
Yeah.
No,
mixed
I
breed of
mean,
us.
to me, China is home. So, no, I'm staying here.
For me, this is gonna be the first Chinese New Year that I'm gonna spending in Beijing, like not in my hometown. So
Okay.
I'm quite nervous about it. Like I don't know what can happen. I don't know.
Beijing gets very quiet during Chinese
Oh,
New Year.
okay. Well, as someone who doesn't know how to cook, I don't think that's a good idea.
No,
That.
you should have stocked. I mean, you know, there's still enough time to stock up before the 17th or the 16th night. So you better be on your
Well-
app buying groceries because you're going to be doing a bit of
I
cooking.
definitely learned from the best. As someone who spent a couple years in China, having their traumatized loneliness. Yeah.
You know, I mean, because I can only speak about my experience in Beijing because that's where I've lived my entire stay here in China. And Beijing is busy, you know, bustling, hustling, noisy, chaos, but in such a positive, good way. And then on Chinese New Year, most of the people are back in their hometowns. I mean, those who work in Beijing. And then when you're at school, because at school you have students from all over China and everyone's going back to their homes, even those from Beijing will just go back to their home outside of the campus because there's no classes. And the one thing that I used to miss, and that's gonna be a little bit odd, but the dribbling of the basketball, because I used to live close to the basketball court, and every morning I would be woken up by, you know, students just like dribbling the basketball. And then during the Spring Festival, I missed that sound because I'm like, well, my morning.
Don't worry. Me and Jenny are gonna go first day of Chinese New Year with a basketball outside his window. Like,
Here's
wake
Jenny.
Up, wake up.
Oh, and we got Jack back.
Oh, welcome back, Jack.
Welcome
Welcome
back.
back. We were asking you, like, compared to your first Chinese New Year celebration to your latest one, because I know you're now married a Chinese woman. So, is there any difference when you're celebrating Chinese New Year now?
For sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, when I was first celebrating Chinese New Year, I was very much doing it from an outsider's perspective in Manchester as someone who was interested in the culture. At that time, you know, I was attending the Dragons parades with the lions and everything, and although it was a very nice feel to it, I could, you know, it was still something that was hosted by the Chinese community in Manchester for non-Chinese community to appreciate. But now very much, I think it feels like it's flipped. Obviously, I'm in China, and not only that, but I'm celebrating it with my own family within China. So it certainly feels like I've kind of joined the inside of the group. And now I think I'm celebrating it exactly the same way that, you know, a Chinese person will be celebrating it with their family. So there's certainly been a transition there, but I think it's really nice to, having been able to experience both, to now have that feeling where every year I can celebrate Chinese New Year with my wife and her parents and her family.
And as for someone who's from the south part of the China, I'm wondering if there's any unique activities you would do in the north.
I think something that, I'm not sure if I can speak for all of the Northeast region, but something that I think for me really means that Chinese New Year is coming is obviously the ice and snow festivities that we have in Harbin. So I think because of the climate, it's incredibly cold throughout the entire period of Chinese New Year. You might not get as many outdoor events as in southern China because, you know, people will be really freezing if they're trying to follow a parade for a couple of hours in like -15, -20 degrees. But we get a lot of events where people will join, I think, ice and snow activities. I've done things like ice dragon boat rowing on the frozen river, where they attach kind of sleds or skis onto dragon boats, and then they will race them across the ice. And then obviously we've tried ice fishing before, where you can cut a hole in the ice and then fish, and then actually get the fish out and cook it fresh in the little tent that you're in. So there's definitely a lot of activities. Obviously, a lot of people come here to see the ice and snow world as well. And then a lot of people go skiing. I personally haven't tried it yet, but I think it's certainly something I'm looking forward to try in the future.
Wow, it's so fascinating that I think Chinese New Year can be so flexible. Like it changes depending on where you are and who you're celebrating it with. Like for me, I was told by a Malaysian friend of mine who shared some unique facts that how Malaysian people celebrating the Chinese New Year. Is that one thing about that is the red envelopes. You know, in China, it's normally the elder people giving out red envelopes to younger family members, but in Malaysia, it's the married ones giving out to the unmarried ones.
Okay.
And another very iconic thing, very interesting part happens during the reunion dinner at the New Year's Eve. So they have this cuisine called isan. Basically, it's like rolled fish meat with some salad on top of it. So people will just gather around this dish, use chopsticks to toss it while shouting out some good fortune words. So basically, they
Toss it where?
Toss it to the sky. Like people just gather here and use the chopsticks to toss.
so
Okay, so it's gonna fall back on the plate?
Of course.
Okay.
It's not gonna go anywhere.
Because
I thought we were tossing into our mouth.
That'd be
I'm
fancy.
just behind your back because like I'm like, who's gonna clean all of this?
No, just do come back to the plate.
Okay,
You
okay.
can rest assured.
Okay.
And they call this a prosperity toss, I think. So the higher you toss it, the more prosperity and good fortune will come to you.
Oh.
That's so new.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think what's fascinating about this is shows how Chinese New Year traditions can really adapt to different conditions. But no matter what the format may be, the core idea of it is still the same. It's about family, about reunion, about rejoice, and it's always about sending your good wish to the world. And I'm curious, in your countries, is there any festival carries the similar ideas or feelings?
It's quite interesting that you actually mentioned that this year specifically, Chinese New Year will fall almost the same time as Ramadan, which is something that is really celebrated in the Arab region for Muslims as well. It is the time where I think, other than Eid, which is like the biggest, I would say, festival in the Arab culture or the Muslim community, Ramadan is a time where everyone gathers most for food because you have to break fast together in the end of the day. So I think it's the most time that family friends actually make the effort to make dinners or breakfast in a way.
I mean, Ramadan and Spring Festival, one of the things that are very similar is how long they are, because the Spring Festival, the Chinese New Year, extends on over a period of time. Ramadan is also 30 days, a month. Family is also very important, I mean, in Lebanon as well. I mean, family is a symbol that is across borders. I mean, it's universal. So Ramadan is definitely something that I thought of. Also, also in the Middle East, we have Christmas, for example, which is for the Christian communities, where it's all families coming together. In my family, it's the December 31st, January 1st, which is like
That's like the biggest thing
New
you guys
Year,
celebrate.
yeah, where we come together as a,
But you want to
as
know
a family.
something that's so interesting. I remember. So in Jordan, you know, there's Muslims, there's Christians and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So during Christmas and Eid, they all buy each other's food.
Yeah.
So like during Christmas, you can see a bunch of Muslims buying Christmas cookies and chocolates. During Eid or Ramadan, you'll see like the Christian community always buying the stuff that like Muslims would
The atayef.
the atayef and stuff. So it's a joke that lots of people in Jordan made, that it's so integrated, like the religious community there, that they just buy each other's stuff without like taking regards, like it's your celebration, it's my
Yeah.
celebration, which is similar like in different Chinatowns around the world. I feel like lots of CGTN coverage has seen lots of Chinatown with a bunch of international people doing shopping. And then when they interviewed them, they're just like, yeah, like Chinese New Year's our celebration too. We're gonna go shopping, why not?
It's so wild to say this. And what about you, Jack? What's the thing? I think yeah.
Christmas definitely the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
In the UK, Christmas is definitely the time of year when everyone's on holiday, families come together, and people, no matter where they are in the country or even outside of the country, make a real effort to get home and spend that time with their family. So I think Christmas definitely the one major thing that comes to mind. But I think, like you guys mentioned, it's almost become very separated from Christianity, and it's become much more of a, I think, British cultural thing where people don't too much associate it with Christianity or whether they're Christian or not. I think as long as you have grown up being British and you have spent your life there, you will celebrate Christmas with your family in that sense, because it's just a time when we see it in schools, we see it in, you know, in, I think, with celebrations and with events held in different cities and in different communities. I think it's something that is all about bringing the community together. So especially that period between Christmas and New Year, although there's an awkward gap that's not technically a public holiday, the couple of days before New Year, pretty much all companies will give that time to their employees. So for the majority of people, you have about a 6 or 7 day holiday from the 25th of December to the 1st of January. And that's when people will be back at home, spending time with their families, but also seeing friends who've also come back to their hometown as well. I think that's a really important part of that entire holiday time as well.
It's so fascinating that we've been talking about how festival travels and how those customs can adapt into different conditions. But I do feel like sometimes it's not just the custom that change. It's also the people who are celebrating them change as well. You know, recently there's a phrase on the internet that's been so popular, so trending. It's called becoming Chinese.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Look at our outfits today.
Yeah, you're more Chinese.
I feel like we've been a step ahead.
So I'm curious, like you've been all living in China for so many years. Is there any moment you realize like, oh, I'm doing this in a very Chinese way, so I'm feeling the Chinese vibe right now?
I feel like other than being half Chinese, there is one thing that really I felt the past few years, which is I stopped calculating dates. Like I stopped saying February 15th, February 16th. I say 初一, 初二, 初三, which is something like you calculate it based on the Chinese New Year calendar. And that's shocking for me because till this day, I can never get it right. But right now, when people tell, oh, I'm going to be back on like the 5th day, I'm like, I know what day that is.
Yeah, sometimes I get confusing. Like I get confused when people saying like, I'll be back at, for example, February 19th. I will be like asking, okay, which?
Yeah.
So you grew up knowing the other one. Like,
I need to transfer it.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, it's really hard for me to pinpoint like a specific thing. Yeah, I mean, nothing really comes to my mind. I mean, obviously, I put out the couplets on my front door. I have one of those fu upside down. I make dumplings.
That's pretty. That's
I
already
literally
pretty
make them,
traditional.
and we've had like these parties before where we come together as friends, and then we make dumplings. And fun fact, dumplings are not that hard to make. They're really not that hard. You know, once you get a hang of like, you know, doing them, like just squeezing
I
that
know
dough.
one Chinese thing you may have not even noticed, but I know that about you.
Go ahead.
Becoming Chinese. His names on social media and his pets are all Chinese names. And I feel like that is a very...
Okay.
I mean, my Chinese name is Dragon. Long.
Li
So
on
yeah.
social media, it's dragon. You never
Yeah.
see Nadim, you see dragon somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean,
Really?
I mean, that was, I think that was one of the first things that made me feel part of China. Actually, now that you mentioned it, I think that's a great angle.
I think that is.
Being named, you know, Li Long, even though it's not my birth name, but having that name, to me, when I first arrived in China, having that name chosen for me, I felt like, oh, okay, I'm immersing myself in the culture. And to this day, I keep it. Like, even when my name is on the on camera, it's always like Longe or Li Long, because that's like my Chinese persona.
I also have another question. Like, I remember you told me that you were born in the year of snake right now,
Yeah.
which is also the year we're currently right now. But even though we're heading towards the year of the horse,
Don't mention
do you
that.
wear anything red? Because
did.
that's very Chinese of you.
I did. Because I know red equals luck, equals good fortune. And what I didn't know that when it was the year of the snake and me being born in the year of the snake, that's going to be the most challenging year that I would be facing. And that's why I had a good friend who gifted me
Something red. Repel
socks.
all the evil energy. Step on it.
Yeah. And I would happily and proudly wear them.
Okay, well,
Not now. Not now.
This
Because-
live stream is protected right now because me and Jack over here are like all the red you can wear for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've gone for it.
We're like all in with the red, so I think this live stream is keeping all bad energy away.
Well, thank you for that.
Don't worry.
I thank you
Don't
for your
worry.
service.
We made the effort of like repelling energy.
what about you, Jack?
I think if I pinpoint one specific moment, there was definitely a point. It was probably when we were living in Guangzhou at the time, my wife and I at that time, girlfriend, and we decided to go back and spend the Chinese New Year with her parents for the first time. So obviously for me, that was the first time to spend Chinese New Year with my girlfriend's parents. And it was also a trip that ended up with us taking a 37-hour sleeper train all the way from Guangzhou back to Harbin.
Oh, wow.
And that train was pretty much entirely full of people going back for Chinese New Year. Like, there wasn't really anyone who was making that journey not to go back and see family. So I think looking around on that train and realizing that everyone is making the same trip from Guangzhou all the way back to their hometown in Harbin, and that we were going to spend it with our families, that was certainly a moment that kind of clicked. And I thought, wow, like, I'm really, I've become Chinese.
How's your back, Jack, by the way, after 37 hours?
It was, you know what, it was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think it helps that I'm not especially tall. I'm just 1.70 meters, so I can fit okay on the tight squeezed beds. But I have taken taller British friends traveling with me, and we've tried the sleepers, and they've literally had to sleep like this, I think, with their head and neck just curved up. So yeah, I think I was probably the first time in my life that I was thankful to be a little bit shorter.
I'm sure you will feel extra exciting when you finally get off the train and when you see the parents of your girlfriend, because like finally you can stretch your back and the feeling is so different.
You can stretch your back
Yeah.
on the train. I mean, you know.
You can take a walk.
the
You can
Chinese
take-
way.
You can
walk
take a
around.
walk.
I saw a lot of
Yeah.
Chinese colleagues of me doing this
Yeah.
when they're sitting in the office.
And honestly, I have to say, high-speed railway in China, perfect, unparalleled in the world. But I still have a soft spot for the
older ones.
the Lu Pi.
Oh, the green,
the
one.
green
Lu Pi,
ones.
the
I
green
love
skin
the
one,
green ones,
which
yeah.
is what I'm guessing that you've taken. The slow
Yes,
trains,
exactly.
the one,
Yeah.
yeah. I think this is like classic Chinese railway.
You know, it reminds me, it's been a long time since I sat on. Like, when was the last time you were on a slow train? It's been a long time for me. 2026 is the year.
2015 for me.
I think. Oh, that's longer. Mine was like 2018 or something.
I went to Yunnan.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
That's fun.
I think I have like one recommendations for people who wants to become Chinese during the
Yes.
Chinese holiday. It's like, people now saying that you should drink hot water or warm water, you should wear home sleepers, something like this. But I think there's another, I want to add extra touch on that. It's a phrase that's widely used by Chinese, but not that widely explained to foreigners. It's a phrase called 来都来了.
Oh, nice.
It's a phrase Chinese people say a lot during Spring Festival, as well as in daily life. So it basically means like, since we're already here, and you can use it in so many
Might as
occasions.
well.
Might as well.
Might
You
as
might
well.
as well. Yeah, like if you waited for a restaurant for 2 hours and it turns out just okay, you can say, 来都来了, we might as well just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And if you have a relative drop by and just like they drop by near dinner time and they said they're gonna leave, you can invite them to say, 来都来了，留下来吃饭 means like, since
stay.
you're already here, like just stay for the dinner. So I think this words reflects a Chinese mindset of like, even though these things might not go as well as you wanted, we can still go with the flow and try to make yourself look at the brighter side. So I think once you start saying this phrase, you will become more, you can get to know the Chinese mindset of like how we cope with challenging situations.
Or unexpected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about becoming Chinese, as you mentioned, language. I mean, we're always saying like hot water or like this or this. I feel like language already is something to become Chinese, because like how are you going to integrate if you don't know how to speak the language? So I think language itself, or like learning at least a few phrases, can be the first step in what we're trending with becoming Chinese.
What?
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you remember your first words in Chinese?
No. Do I remember my first words in Chinese?
Yeah. I mean, when did you start learning Chinese?
Like
She
age
was born.
0?
0? Okay, because your mom's side. Okay.
But what about you and Jack? Like,
What about Jack? Yeah, let's go for Jack first.
I was very much the stereotypical textbook.
Okay.
You know, 你好吗？我很好，你呢? And it's funny because whenever Chinese people speak to me about their experiences in English and learning hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. I'm
and
you. Like,
you?
I can finally relate to them because I pretty much learned exactly the same thing in my Chinese textbooks. And then I got to China, and I don't think a single person ever said 你好吗? And then I was just
No.
like, why is no one asking me this? It's certainly something that I think you can only really get it if you've learned a language from scratch, and especially from a textbook as well. So that's definitely something that, as you guys have mentioned, it can really help you immerse in the language. But I think if you're going to start from somewhere, then during the Chinese New Year, learning some of the traditional Chinese New Year's greetings is a great way to learn your first Chinese, and also I think learn about the beauty and the symbolism that is inside the Chinese language. Because one of my favorite things about every New Year is experiencing all the different puns that people make out of that year's letter. Obviously the horse year this year is a great year for it as well, because there's so many different words that you can make out of that.
Yes.
So I think if I were to encourage someone who wants to become Chinese, it would definitely be go and check out some of those puns and learn them yourself, and actually learn the meaning behind them and why they have those multiple meanings.
And learn the right tone for ma, because ma is like the word for different tones
Yeah.
in Chinese.
Yeah.
Ma. I butchered it, but
Nicely done.
yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for foreigners, like if they want to say some Chinese words to their Chinese friends during the Chinese New Year, no matter where they are?
Wow.
红包拿来.
Oh, give me the hongbao. Give me the hongbao. No, I mean, I think that depending on person's ability, even something as simple as, which is really funny because when I go back to Lebanon and people know that I live in China, they will say ni hao. And I'm like, I'm blown away because
How did you know that?
yeah,
Right?
basically, yeah. And so it speaks to like the soft power of China, and how China and Chinese language are becoming more visible around the world. Because, back in 2012, before I came to China, very few people would even know anything related to Chinese. Like, because on the topic of language, before I came to China, I tried to learn, 我, ni, ta, ni hao. And it was really difficult for me, even as simple as these are, because I wasn't immersed in that culture, in that society, in that language. But then, after coming to China, it became much easier. And so I think that instead of having, set sentences that I could teach people, it's whatever they like, I mean, obviously, something right now that we could all say is 新年快乐.
恭喜发财.
Yeah. So it's like these little things that they can learn, but also it really depends, like anything from ni hao to 来都来了. I think anything and everything works as long as they're putting in the effort. And I think Chinese people are very easy. Like even when you butcher the entire tones, or the pronunciation is super off, they will still tell you, oh,
Well done.
你真厉害, 你真厉害. Like wow,你的汉语特别好. And so they're very encouraging. Chinese people are very encouraging on that front, whereas yeah.
Agreed.
So
I think we've talked so much about becoming Chinese, but I think according to what we just said and what we just shared, I think the best way still to become a Chinese, or like want to feel the Chinese culture, is still come and see it for themselves. And I think China's been doing really well on that side.
Yeah.
It's because China has been launching the 240 hours visa-free transit policies so that more travelers from all of the world can visit China in a more like convenient ways, and they can go and explore China by themselves. So I have a question for you all, is that, let's say, for example, if you have a friend who's going to visit China, is there any recommendations?
For places.
Places, food, routes, whatever.
You want to go first?
Oh yeah, come to Beijing. Come to Beijing. I am going to be biased about this. I've lived in Beijing since 2012, so 14 years now.
Wow.
Beijing, for me, is my number one city. I know Beijing is not for everyone, and I know different people have drastically different opinions about Beijing, but to me, if you don't come to Beijing, you really would not have come to China.
Is there any recommendations, like more specific recommendations on?
I would say, maybe controversial, skip the Forbidden City, go to Jinshan Park. Forbidden City is the most visited museum in the world, but it's going to take you some time and it's to get the tickets and to actually spend time there. So why don't you just cross the street and go to Jinshan Park, which is the royal garden that was attached to the Forbidden City. You can climb up a very easy hill and then have a 360-degree view of the entirety of Beijing and a panoramic view of the entirety of the Forbidden City. So that's one thing that I would recommend. Obviously have Peking duck, which, fun fact, came from Nanjing, but we're not going to talk about it. So Peking duck, because Nanjing used to be the old capital, and then when the capital moved to Beijing, they brought that food, because it was a royal food, back to Beijing, and then they tweaked it.
You're really becoming Chinese. Like, you know so much more about Beijing City and the culture more than me.
Good point about the Jingshan Park, because after you exit from Jingshan Park, that district specifically has a whole street of street food.
Yes.
Which I think if you want to get like the fast way of trying everything, just go take a walk.
A 7-kilometer walk, central axis of Beijing, which is recently,
Nicely done.
put into the UNESCO World Heritage List. So you'll see,
You'll see everything.
You'll
by one
literally
trip.
everything about old Beijing. You'll see it on that 8-kilometer straight line that stretches through the Forbidden City, the Gugong, Guomao.
Tower.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It is pretty good. I feel like the 240-hour visa-free thing really is very helpful because, I don't know, in Arabic, we used to always think that China is so far. There's phrases in Arabic that says China is so far. So I think once you make a, 240-hour visa-free 10-day situation, you don't need to plan it in a way. You're going to a third destination later, for example. You don't need to be like, oh, it's so scared, China's so far, how am I going to plan it? You can just pass by, which I think is really good. If you were to ask me where I would pick, since you already covered, I would say Beijing too, because I'm a authentic.
But you can share different places in Beijing. How about that?
I liked what you said, but let's share more areas of China. I'd 100% also recommend Chongqing.
Chongqing.
Cyberpunk City. I feel like Chongqing is all over social media. I don't think there's, if you write China and you ask someone who's interested to visit China, there's not one person who wouldn't know Chongqing. If you can eat spicy food, I highly, highly recommend it. But also,
And can hike.
oh, hiking is so pretty
Because
there.
it's a mountainous city.
Chongqing in general, whether it's cuisine, whether it's, for me, I love the weather there. The locations where you can visit, there are some temples, there are some touristic spots, some outdoor activities you can do. Chongqing, number one. And number two, it's all on our list. Chongqing and Beijing and wherever you guys are going to share now. We're looking forward to
What
hearing
about
it.
you, Jack?
Oh, it's so tough. I've been lucky to travel to a lot of different places in China. I think maybe perhaps I would try and recommend somewhere that people might not know already. I think we've covered a lot of the classics with Beijing and Chongqing. I would also definitely say if you're considering Chongqing, then Chengdu is so close.
Yeah.
It's just a 40 minutes on a high-speed train, and you've obviously got the Panda Base, you've got Sichuan cuisine, you've got, I think, the famous face-changing opera. There's a lot of really interesting sights to see in Chengdu. But I think I would probably go a little bit more on the unknown side of things, and I think I would recommend Yunnan to people.
Oh, Yunnan. There you go,
Yunnan
Jenny.
is somewhere.
We've got a Yunnan recommendation.
Somewhere
Jenny's hometown.
Ooh. 1 point for
I think
Yunnan.
Yunnan is somewhere that is incredible to visit no matter the time of year.
Yeah.
It's got one of the best climates in all of China, and that it's not too hot in summer like some places are, but it's also not incredibly cold in winter if you're scared of the cold. It's got a great mix of incredible natural landscape, a lot of different food that isn't also too spicy if you can't deal with spicy food, and at the same time it allows you to learn about a lot of Chinese ethnic minorities, which I think is something really interesting and also really important, because a lot of my friends, or a lot of people that I speak to in the UK, one thing they really don't understand is just how diverse China is with all the ethnic minorities. And I think Yunnan is a fantastic insight to that. If you go there, you will come out knowing a lot more about just how diverse China is. So I think for somewhere that's slightly different, but somewhere where you could 100% have a fantastic time, I'd probably go Yunnan.
Wow.
Love Yunnan.
What about you, Jenny? Can't say Yunnan. Cannot say
I
Yunnan.
was gonna say Yunnan, but I want to add more on Yunnan is the food there, like because there's so many ethnic groups there and the flavors can be so different. There's like in Sichuan Bainar, for example, the food there's sour and spicy.
Love.
But also in some Lijiang, for example, the food there is not mild and there's like a hot pot of them, but it's like salty hot pot, something like that. And also I think it's just food is so diverse and somebody needs to stop me here before I turn this into a Yunnan food episode.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is mushrooms, like, are mushrooms really?
It's a
Yes.
thing, yeah.
Mushroom coated
big
drinks in
specialty.
Yunnan. Yes. Yes, I think mushroom rice was also one of the dish that the Kirstamer, like all the team finished up. Like they cleaned up the dish. The cuisine was about mushroom. And you know, you have to visit Yunnan during the rainy seasons. That's I think June or July of the year because that's with a lot of rain, the mushroom just grow like crazy. So you get mushroom so fresh like every day, and there's a certain type of mushroom, they're like extremely toxic. So when you're having this mushroom hot pot, like they won't give out chopsticks unless it's been fully cooked. So you have the pot boiling in front of you, but you don't have the chopsticks or the bowl to eat it.
That's an experience, I feel.
And after the
I've even been to places. Oh, sorry. I was going to say I've even been to places that lock the pot as well.
Yes,
so
I
they
know.
actually close the pot and lock through it just to make sure that there's no way you can get in until the mushrooms are ready.
Oh wow, that's new to me.
We should
That's-
try it.
Yeah.
You should
You
try.
know, for we as Yunnan people, when it comes to rainy season, we always get texts from Yunnan government to mention you to like suggest you try to avoid eating any mushrooms that you do not know. And
Kind reminder, yeah.
Yeah, kind reminder. And me growing up in Yunnan, I have so many peers and classmates. Like all of a sudden when we're having class together, they're starting to act weird. And we send them to the hospital and it turned out it's because they ate one slice of mushroom that's not been fully cooked. That's how, but
Cook
after,
your mushrooms, people. Cook your mushrooms.
but after they recovered, if you
reminder.
ask them if they're gonna still try it, the answer is 100% yes. Like that's how addicted for us Yunnan people to eat mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
You have to
Disclaimer,
try it.
please boil your mushrooms in the correct timing.
Thoroughly cook your mushrooms.
Really cooked.
Yeah, I'm almost the same as Jen. I enjoyed Yunnan so much I could go on about it forever. But I think one thing I really should mention before we move on is the tea and the coffee there both. So it's incredible both for tea and coffee now. Coffee really, especially in the last few years, there's a
Yeah.
lot of new plantations that are growing really high quality coffee. So when we went to Yunnan, we visited coffee plantation, we visited tea plantations, and it's amazing to just try it freshly roasted and freshly made. So that's a huge recommendation for me as well.
I think 10 days to visit China it's not even going to be enough. There's just way too many places to visit, and each province has its unique landscapes and culture and vibe.
But you'll get a little bit of a taste of China of these 10 days. I agree, 10 days is not enough. I mean, 14 years in China is not enough to experience the entirety of China. But 10 days, I think, is like trial.
Yes, of
Come
course.
to China, see, taste.
And with the high-speed rail we mentioned, it's so easy to go to
To move
different
in,
cities.
yeah.
If you want to experience in 10 days, I would say 3-4 cities is very possible.
Yeah, with the high-speed train,
Yeah.
of course. So we've received a bunch of people leaving comments online. So let's take a look.
Sure.
So we have a user from YouTube saying that the Chinese festival is so fun. Well, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And another one saying that Year of the Red Horse, I also think it's as the fire horse. That's my understanding. I could be wrong about it. But I do feel like a fire, or let's say red, in Chinese culture can represent some positivity, some good energy, and red definitely can ward off the bad energy. I think that's because that's also why you're wearing red, and everything related to Spring Festival is about red.
It's an auspicious color in Chinese culture.
And also we have from WeChat, we have some viewers leaving comments. For example, Mark saying that I think he is a Malaysian Chinese and he's welcoming everybody to visit Malaysia to experience the Chinese New Year from Phnom Penh. which is a city in Malaysia.
Okay.
The next hype episode.
Of course,
do
and
it.
also
Hype
we
on
have
the road.
The hype on the road with Jack.
we have Lighty saying,
Yeah, please.
wishing everybody from all of the world happy Spring Festival, and we have it's just so many comments wishing everyone happy Chinese New Year. It's just sending good wishes,
The
everyone.
amount of 新年快乐 that I would be saying next week to random strangers wherever I go, you know, especially those, and I know we've already spoken about people going back home, but also I have to mention people who are not going back home because they're staying and working because the society needs to keep working. And so the police officers, the people in the subway, all the convenience stores, even restaurants that are remaining opened, I think that whenever I see someone still working and I'm, you know, interacting with them for any reason, I always start with 新年快乐. And I think that
It's warm.
yeah, I think that's it. So
For
people
everyone.
people will say it to you even if they don't know you. It's just there's this bubbly, happy energy that takes over China during these couple of
Warning
days.
for everyone not going home during Chinese New Year. Nadim will come to you with a
With a 新年快乐.
And with some red envelopes, that would be even best, even be better. I would definitely say a lot Chinese 新年快乐 or 恭喜发财 to people who, like when I get delivered food, because
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do for the next holiday because I don't cook again.
Yeah.
But there's still people who's being like delivering food
Yeah.
to you. So yeah,
I mean, you're working as well. So, I mean,
are.
people, there are certain industries, certain sectors that, you know, they
the
can't
society
afford, they
key.
cannot afford to be off when the rest of the country is off. And so,
okay, before I start Googling my flights and my destination, my hotels to another traveling spots, I think we're probably gonna enter to the last question.
Okay.
Which I have is that when the Chinese New Year is over, what's your emotional aftertaste?
can I please go back to, can I
maybe.
go back to the
Yeah,
Chinese
sure.
New Year? No, no, the way I see it is like, oh, can we just rewind and then go back to Chinese New Year? Because, you know, the trauma of Beijing being quiet when I was on campus
Everybody
is now
comes back.
happiness.
I can see you do have PTSD for that.
No, now it's happiness for me because, you know, the streets are quiet, the office is quiet, and so when people come back, as much as I love it, I just want to go back to that. Because, you know, Jack was speaking about how in the UK, there's a couple of days between Christmas and the New Year where they're not really a holiday, but people consider them as a holiday. So for me, my holiday starts from Christmas time all the way until after the Chinese New Year. So it's December, January, February.
That's long vacation you gave yourself. You really spoil yourself.
And so after the Chinese New Year, I have no reason to like be festive at all.
I'm not working during these months because I'm having my festive vibe.
I mean, I'm like minimal effort working. And so after Chinese New Year, I'm like, well, I mean, there's no reason to celebrate. There's nothing left. So can we just go back to that? That's my
You
that's my
really
state of
spoil
mind.
yourself, I would say.
I have
having
to.
a
You
good
have
time
to.
in
Yeah,
life.
you
You
have
have to spoil
self-care.
yourself.
Self-care.
So
What about you?
Chinese, right after Chinese New Year, I mean, I get what you're saying, but what I wouldn't agree is China has lots of festivities. So I feel like after Chinese New Year, you just wait for the next festivity, which is like, what do we have? 元宵节. We have the Lantern Festival.
But that's part of the Spring Festival.
Later.
Oh, later, yeah.
Right? Like it's
I think Lantern Festival is kind of like the closure.
The closure, the ending
so
of
like I think
celebration.
you can still have holiday until the Lantern
okay.
Festival. So like
Thank
I'm
you.
increasing your time.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
know, but for
Extending it
extending
bit
your
by
holiday.
bit.
But like I think for me after Chinese, well, I think during the times of Chinese New Year, I get lots of messages, but I also send lots of messages. I think it's a perfect time to reconnect with people you haven't
Yes.
talked to in like a year. And I think it's a perfect hello other than like randomly, hey, just checking in, happy Chinese New Year. You just start light up lots of old friendships or like conversations. And then leading up to, you know, the festive atmosphere, for me, like I said, Chinese New Year is the new year. So that's what marks the beginning of 2026 to like the end of 2026, which is the Chinese New Year era. So I think for me, it gets more active after Chinese New Year because everything's like, back on track.
Finally back into the norm order.
Because I think January to Chinese New Year, as you said, you're on holiday, but like I also think some people are also anticipating the Chinese New Year as the beginning of their New Year. So I think after Chinese New Year, officially everything gets back to normal.
What about you, Jack?
I think it's really changed for me quite a lot during the years. Obviously, when I was working in an office, the end of Chinese New Year was like, okay, right, back to work now. No more holiday, and it was quite a just distressing time, especially when you've just had 7 days of doing nothing but eat incredible food, and then suddenly, bam, you're straight back onto the project. But I think in recent years, especially after being back in Harbin, one thing is that we often associate the end of Chinese New Year or Spring Festival with the weather starting to warm up. So you say, oh, it's finally starting to warm up a little bit in Harbin, especially this year with Chinese New Year coming quite late. We've actually already starting to hit 0 degrees here. So we're starting to feel now that, spring is really coming in Harbin and the weather's starting to warm up. We can start to go outside more and spend more time outside. So I think that's definitely one thing. A little bit as well, since we've been back in Harbin, obviously we've been putting more effort into creating content on social media. And obviously that's probably similar to you guys. It ends up meaning that throughout the Chinese New Year, we almost feel busier sometimes because when everyone's at home and relaxing, it's a perfect time for them to want to, relax and watch some interesting content. So that means for us, okay, well, we want to make some interesting content that people can watch and enjoy and learn and use to learn a little bit more about the Chinese New Year. So sometimes after the Chinese New Year, it might actually be when we relax for sort of a week or 10 days and just say, okay, now that time has passed, we're just going to not do anything and chill out and, not leave the house for like 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
Sounds like a good week to me.
And I think, speaking of the temperature rising back, I think that's also one of the reasons why we call it the Chinese New Year. Another name for it is called Spring Festival because that's the festival when the spring started to approach and you can actually feel that spring is coming and not just the temperature, but also the whole vibe and your energy is feeling back as well. And I think for me, when I'm having Chinese New Year celebrations with my family, like once it's over, of course I will miss them. But as a woman at my age who's not get married, whenever I go home to have Chinese New Year dinner, my relatives were all of a sudden starting to interrogating me about when you're gonna get married, like how many kids you're gonna have, and which city are you gonna settle down after you get married. So part of me, I would say, after leaving hometown back to Beijing, I feel relieved. And finally, I can concentrating my energy again to get ready for the work. I think that's something my boss would like to hear. Like, I'm full energy now for the work.
I think she's hearing it right now, so.
And I think we've talked about so much about our own Chinese New Year memories and experiences, and also how Chinese people way of doing it. There's so many traditions and so many love reunions, and also no matter where you are, the whole theme of this festival is still about love and sending good wish for the coming year. So, as we're coming to the end of our show, I'm wondering if you have any wish for our viewer, whoever is watching right now.
I wish everyone a happy Chinese New Year. I think this year it's going to have a different flavor because we're coming out from the Becoming Chinese trend. So there's a lot of focus on China. And so I hope this Chinese New Year, you give some of the customs or traditions that we've spoken about a try. It could be something like having one of those fu in your house, and I'm pretty sure they're available around the world, or maybe couplets, or even try your hand at making dumplings, or just send a Chinese friend a text message saying 新年快乐. I think any of these small details will make you feel a little bit more festive and a little bit more Chinese during this Chinese New Year. And of course,
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Of course, do you want to continue?
Oh, nothing. I was gonna say Happy Chinese New Year of the horse, and if you have Ma in your name, then you're one lucky fella.
Wonderful. I was just gonna say you have dragon in your name, so can't wait for the year of the dragon.
Yes.
Like better wishes. All right. My wish for Chinese New Year is wishing everyone an auspicious, a prosperous, a healthy, happy new year. Hopefully, in this new year, you'll find love, you'll find success, you'll find happiness.
Health.
And health. Did I not say health? Health. Most. Hope you'll find health. You know, as we talk about the trends of becoming Chinese, lots of the videos pop up about how to be healthier and stuff like that. But I feel like now becoming Chinese is not just a trend, it's just a way of living.
Yes.
So as Nadim said, come and visit, come enjoy the customs, and perhaps, you never know, you'll find some specific things that have always been a part of you, even though you didn't know. We give them a name of becoming Chinese, but you never know. Maybe you were interiorly Chinese all along.
Well said. And what about you, Jack?
I think, yeah, of course, I would say Happy Chinese New Year of the Horse to everyone. I hope it's a very successful and healthy and happy year for everyone moving forward. But I think especially for people that are in the UK, I'm not sure about other areas, but I know for a fact there's a lot of new events happening for Chinese New Year across many cities in the UK. So I would say if you're interested, then make sure to actually go and learn a bit and spend a bit of time to check out, see what events are on in your area. And then you might be surprised by how much you're able to actually get integrated with the community. So you might be able to go and check out some of the parades in Chinatowns, or even just going and having a nice Chinese meal. So I think, use this time to learn a little bit more about Chinese culture and go and celebrate with people who are celebrating Chinese New Year as their own.
Oh, that's very well said. I love the wishing and the good energy, the vibe you're giving out to our audiences, whoever you are watching this from. For me, I'm wishing all of our audiences, cherish the people you're going to visit or text during this whole Chinese New Year holiday, the people you've been missing the past year, and also cherish the moment you get to spend with your families. And also, we're sending you love, luck, and a lot of good fortune. And I wish your year ahead of you is full of warmth and full of only good things.
马上成功.
我要马上暴富.
Do you have anything to say?
马年快乐. I thought you guys said like 马上成功, like we're gonna 成功 right now.
No, no, because it's the ma, the horse.
You see the confusion? I was like, huh?
All right, so we're coming to the end of our show. I hope you're enjoying as much as we do. And of course, please keep on watching more of the hype during the Chinese New Year, because we're going to still accompany you for more episodes to come. And I think that would be all. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.